Okay, we're live. Okay, so first thing is this informal meetup. I don't know what to make of this. I kind of just feel like we should just let, if things materialize, then it materializes. If not, then it doesn't. I kind of feel like that's what we should do. I don't know if anybody has any other comments there. It sounds pretty scattershot, though.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable to me. It's if whatever people can get together, great. Otherwise,
okay.
Are we planning to do around like the days or like on?
Well, people are. I mean, the summit is what, the 25th and 24th and 25th.
it's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, depending on if you go to day 0, and then 26th and 27th are the training days. So I think the latest discussion was like the 27th, but
yeah, it's like there's some people that can do the 26th and some people that can do the 27th and some people that can do both. And I haven't really seen an agenda for what they want to talk about. So yeah, I think we just let that evolve and see what happens. And
yeah, I mean, I think we could take it off the diagnostic agenda.
Okay.
It's just an issue. It's there. People can talk in that issue. A few of us chimed in when we're available or not, and whatever happens, happens.
That is removed from the agenda.
That is the week that we would have a diagnostic, like one of these meetings, anyways. So.
Yeah, I mean, given that the summit is happening, then it's like we might end up canceling this.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just have this meeting, right? But they're person.
Possible. I mean, I don't know what else is in the schedule for.
Well, not at this time slot, but just like if we're coming up with what we need to talk about, like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we can certainly come up with an agenda and drive it. I don't know that everybody's schedule is going to work. I don't know that I feel like cat herding people's schedules.
Okay.
Around that, but again, I think it's like we should see if there's a slot that works during the conference that we can get together and talk about these things in a more formal setting. I think that's great. I'm going to be there, and I'm in particular. I want to talk about some of this async context stuff and do any face-to-face conversations that I need to do to just sort of explain any of this stuff with anybody. So, and that's kind of my primary goal for being there. So I'll be available for that. I suspect that other people are going to have specific agendas that they want to drive. I imagine like Yunong's going to, want to talk about some of the things he's interested in while he's there, and other people as well. I think we'll leave an open question for maybe the next meeting as to whether or not we want to hold one on the 25th, 27th, and or what would it be? July 25th is what it would be. And what that would mean. So for an agenda, what people can do. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda here is the diagnostics channel. I don't think there's been any progress here. So I'll just skip it. I'm trying to get some people here on our end involved here, but I'm not a very good salesperson. Deep dives.
Stephen was working on something, I think, but he's not here today.
Yeah, he was. The last update here was from like the 4th of April, which is sort of a while ago. I don't know what's. Looks like his project that he was playing in hasn't been updated for a while. So I do know that I periodically get pinged, though, about open tracing and open census questions and Node. And that's whenever I try my sales tactics.
So what are those pings like? Node should be supporting them, or what's the
internal stuff? Like there's an Azure team that's doing something, and somebody comes up with, "Hey, we should plug in on XYZ," and somehow I get looped in on the thread, and I'm like, "Hey, this is kind of where we're thinking about things, right?" which has been what we've described in that issue 180. And usually these are different product teams that have some need for it.
Right.
So, then I try and pitch them, hey, if you want to get involved, you can do this stuff here, and you can, so
you can enable yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not very persuasive. So, we'll see.
They must not need it enough. Is the
it's like,
fundamental problem.
I think it's like they have more immediate concern,
right?
And it's like, unless somebody's actually tasked to be like, hey, we need to nail this for Node, and we want to do it in a way that, we want to make an investment that we can sort of, that accrues to a bunch of other things, and is also a contribution back into the community, right? It's kind of hard to get time to do that kind of stuff. You need to be very sort of strategic about how you're aligning any work like that, right? Because you need to make sure it aligns with what your product group needs in a very specific way. And so usually there's just quicker ways around it. And so that's what ends up happening.
Right.
Yeah. From our side, actually, Kelvin has and a team of developers have been working on Node support for open census. So right now it's a proof of concept, but I think the objective would be to get something like diagnostic channel integrated into that thing. And I think the open questions at this point are whether the diagnostic channel is becoming a node thing, or is it becoming, let's say, a standard module that people can depend upon. So we haven't done any work on the diagnostics channel either. But being able to make progress on this, I think, would be good, because I think it's a good way of building these kinds of things, such as open census.
Yeah, I agree. And we've got a bet on open census as well. And I believe that it's like we've got folks on our end talking to folks on your end at Google about this. And I know that, like we were on one meeting where they were talking about the Java support, .NET support, and I think Node came up briefly. And so if you are making progress with open census on Node, like ping me, because I know that there's people that are specifically interested in that. But trying to align or trying to sell them that, hey, this, diagnostics channel enables open census in a more scalable and sane way, is a bit harder to sell than, hey, we just need to, pump out some open census data, right? So if you guys are making progress on that, like, reach out, let me know where you're at.
Yeah, so open census for Node is there now. It's on NPM. It just doesn't have the diagnostic channel integrated into it yet, and that's a thing that we're hoping is we can get collaboration, or like somehow we can build it. And the best thing would be if it was more of an official thing from Node.
And you guys published this module, Kelvin? You published it, or it's a Google thing?
It's open census it's like gRPC. It's an open project.
Yeah.
I think there is work underway to move it to CNCF. And yes, the modules are available from NPM today. They're pre-release versions, meaning that they're rough around the edges, maybe, but you can certainly. So there certainly are there that and play with them. Some experimental, meaningful things. Okay.
And you guys are just monkey patching stuff like everybody does?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Good info.
Any context around where people want to use it? Is it
where people want to use open census?
Yeah, sort of what's making it of interest to them. Maybe I need to just read more about what it is, but
yeah, I mean, I think that the use case as I understand it is you have a cloud application that is comprised of multiple services, And what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to correlate log data across multiple services. And
Okay.
what Open Census provides is a mechanism to sort of do that correlation.
Okay.
And Kelvin, correct me if this is wrong.
Yeah, so that's right. It's logs or distributed log correlation tracing statistics. The basic idea is observability, right? Observability for multi-service applications or distributed applications in the cloud. And so it's the same use case as EPM tracing, but the idea is having an open standard in the form of Open Census, the standard, and also open libraries that are available for every language.
Right.
That are, yeah. So there's a spec, Open Census spec that's there on the GitHub repo. There's a GitHub organization called Open Census. And then there's also concrete implementations available for various languages.
Right.
Yeah, so it's an effort to consolidate like common interfaces and I guess specification between languages and between libraries, between vendors, between everything.
Right. Okay. So it's a standardization of what you need for APM type monitoring.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, and I believe that you guys are trying to, like, Google is making a bet on it as sort of the de facto tracing stuff, and I believe Azure as well. So that most services, at least in Azure, will eventually produce messaging data consistent in this format. So there seems to be some, and I don't know if Amazon's hooked, like, if they're signed up as well.
I don't know about that one.
Okay. Okay, so the diagnostic deep dives, no update. I do want to schedule one maybe after the summit, you know, for the async context stuff. I think there's, you know, as I think we discussed previously, there's a few probably one-on-one conversations that need to happen to just start bringing people up to speed on some of that stuff. I don't think there's any other updates there. Number 157, expectation about tier of support from diagnostic tools and VMs.
Yeah, a little bit discussion in the issue. I think I just have the action to try and put something together. I just put something in my calendar as a reminder to try and spend a couple hours doing that this week or next week. I don't think there's anything else really new for us here to talk about, though.
Okay. Okay. Profiling we can take off the agenda. I think that is done. So let's move it now. Async hooks, any update there?
No update. So as far as stable API, I think that one is fairly far off, as we discussed at the Collaborator Summit. But that may be a moot point anyway because people are using it. But from a things that are happening perspective, async hooks, there's a pull request that Mateo opened that I think is currently blocked, which is a get current resource. And then there's another one, get active handles, that Jeremiah opened, that is also in flight.
Yeah, the active handles one, I mean, like, I don't know what the take is, but it does feel like it's exposing internals, right, that are fragile. And I don't know if there's a workaround for that, but I haven't chimed in.
Yeah, I haven't been able to take a deeper look into that one, so I actually don't have opinions on it.
Okay. Okay, so the async context formalization stuff. So there's a PR. I did an update to the PR. I added some examples for generator functions, and I added an example, a simple example for async await. I I believe everything still holds, like after you go through that. The async await stuff gets a little complex. You know, I think the best way to sort of explain that or think through that in terms of what's happening is looking at what the spec says and then translating the async await syntax into the actual promise operations as defined by the current ECMAScript spec, and then just sort of looking at where these various transitions happen. And I still think generally things hold. In going through the spec, I think that it's becoming, I think, pretty clear to me that what I've got in the doc maps pretty nicely into the spec. That is, I think there's a few places inside of the ECMAScript spec where we need to go in and modify some definitions and add some things. They already have a concept of what they call an execution context in ECMAScript spec that is effectively a stack frame. And so I think there's some update to that to say like, hey, there's an execution context, and now we've got this, you know, continuation invocation execution context that has a few bits of extra state. And then you can define current context based on what's on the stack. They've got, you know, operations, you know, algorithmic steps defined for what happens when you await, or what happens when you do an async function invocation, and what happens when you do various promise operations. And I think that maps nicely, or that can be tweaked to define how we want to set up this various state for the what we call the ready context. And yeah, so I think things fit nicely into what's in current TC39. I'm sure there will be some surprises, but I feel good about that. And the update I pushed to the PR this morning has a real quick blurb about where we kind of can fit in and plug into the spec. So hopefully we can start transitioning some of this stuff to ECMAScript spec ease language. Any questions, comments? Great. So next thing here is trace events number 84.
I can give an update on this one. There's a few things happening on this one. James is working on a change in V8, which adds some intrinsics to V8 that will let us check if a trace category is enabled and do a trace from JavaScript. So that will basically enable tracing to be exposed to JavaScript in a performant way. I think he's currently working through issues on that V8 change. On Node itself, there are a bunch of trace events pull requests open. So I think Eugene opened a pull request for some bug fixes for. So there's some crashes that we see on shutdown for trace events. He's fixing those, but those were running into serious failures. So intermittent failures on some CIs. So on Windows, for example. So I actually spent quite a bit of time yesterday trying to debug those, but I actually haven't been able to reproduce those. So at this point, I think there's some roughness around the edges that I'm hoping that we can resolve, and I'm working on it, and Eugene is also working on it. And then there's some follow-on changes around metadata events that I want to put in. So there's work happening, and the objective I have is that maybe we can wrap this up in time for Node 11. There's still a lot to do, and if anybody wants to help out on these ones, especially around the debugging the shutdown crashes, I think that would be quite helpful. Especially the Windows one, because I could not reproduce the issues on my Windows system. And the Windows build takes such a long time anyway. So.
Windows build for Node.
Yeah.
Is it? It's on the latest Node version.
Yes.
Do you have repro steps?
yeah, so there's a test case, it's a build node, and there's a test case, test tracing no crash, and that test crashes. So yeah, I wish our CI was able to record crash dumps and so. And if you could get a crash dump, that would be quite helpful. But this only is happening in the CI, and I don't have a crash dump for it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got some stuff I need to do with Node, Shark, or Core. So I'll try and run this. This test is in master.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can run it and see if it repros for me. Do you know what version of the OS it's crashing on?
I can look that up. Let me look that up in my other tab.
Yeah, core dump would be best.
Yeah, actually, I don't have the tab in front of me, so I can ping you that information afterwards. I know it's only the Visual Studio 2017 build that was running into this, but which operating system it was, actually don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if it was like 32-bit, 64-bit?
I think it's. Do we even build 32-bit? Michael, do you know?
Oh no.
Or which platform?
For Windows?
I know we dropped it for Linux, and I'm guessing we don't have it for Windows. But here, let me see if I can figure that out. Yeah, no, I still see 32-bit for current. So I think we only dropped for Linux.
Okay. I'll see if I can run it, and I'll give it the college try. No guarantees.
Yeah. So if you want to reproduce, the issue is the Node.js issue 21335. So that's the patch you want. That basically fixes the shutdown choreography bug. So that actually fixes shutdown pointers getting free out of order, and that pull request itself leads to more crashes that are being hard to debug at this point. 21335.
So you would need to apply this, and then things should repro. That's what you're saying? Or with this fix, things shouldn't repro?
Without this fix, you'll have a lot more crashes.
Okay. But there's still crashes without this fix.
There's a lot more crashes without this fix. With this fix, I think there's a Windows CI failure that has failed intermittently. So it's unclear. And it crashed. So it's unclear why or how it crashed. It could still. This fix may not have fixed things enough.
Okay. All right, I'll see if I scrape up some time to take a look at it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anybody?
Not me.
Mark, you've been quiet?
Yeah, no, just listening along. Everything sounds pretty good, so I'm happy.
Billy, Kelvin, you guys good?
Good.
All right.
Okay. Talk to you guys next time or at Node Summit.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.